not a problem, and he won the race convincingly. What can he do from 5th on the grid?
We are about to find out then. The last couple of cars head into position. Wipers working overtime on 1 and 2 of them as the drivers now get set to go on this uphill climb for the grid. The pole position line right at the very top. Green flag at the back says we're good to go. The drivers now concentrate on those lights, which go red. Lights will go out any second now to blast the cars away, and it is a good getaway by James Kellett. Not a great start by Gus Burton in relation to Adam Smalley, but then as the power kicks in, he goes for the inside line down towards Duffer's Dip. Smalley on the outside will just stay ahead, but it's Kellett who leads as they drop downhill. Charles Rainford second, and Matty Graham in third as they have to now learn about the grip level, and also 1 or 2 cases coming the spray. Don't go too wide over the curve because it's wet and it's slippy. Jason Lockwood was wide and delayed Max Bird there.
Yeah, Max Bird again having trouble on the first lap, going wide at McIntyre. These cars not easy to get off the line in the wet. Very easy with 420 horsepower to spin the wheels up, but actually all the front cars get away very evenly with just Gus Bird trying to get up the inside of Adam Smalley, but not doing so.
So you can see how wet it is down at the hairpin. Look at the spray there, just like we had earlier on in the day for touring cars. So this seems to be the wettest part of the road as Josh Stanton in number 95, the red car, gets up the inside of Will Aspin, who goes defensive against Jason Lockwood. There's a graphic example of the spray coming over the line, and Graham is under attack there as they dive now down through Duffer's Dip from Adam Smalley.
Yeah, the big Michelin wet tyres really do bite through the water and clear it very carefully. We've seen so many times you just don't want to be on the outside there, do you?
No, and Adam Smalley losing a place then to Gus Burton, who goes through. So Gus Burton in the yellow and blue Apple Racing UK JTR entry goes ahead of Smalley, who has now got Josh Mayland behind him. Josh having also cleared Harry Foster on that opening lap of the race. James Kellett in the meantime, who's had 2 race wins already this year, trying to build that gap up front.
Well, he's got the clearest vision, hasn't he? The best view of the track, but Charles Rainsford also a winner this year, keeping him very honest at the front.
And Josh Stanton gets turned around. Josh was at Cowden Beach stock car track last night, picking up 1 or 2 tips on how to defend, but I'm afraid there he's been tipped around and into the gravel, and that looks like it's his race done. Yeah, and that's not in a place they want to leave the car either, so despite seeing the action on the shale last night, it's not going to help him get over. Oh dear, that was so close. Safety car deployed because of that car of Josh Stanton, last year's AM champion, being in the gravel, and you saw the contact. He got turned around, and the gravel on the inside of the hairpin ensnares him. In years gone by, that would have been grass, and he'd have been able to slither off that, down the hill, rejoin, but now the gravel is there, and he's stuck.
And I think the gravel there is to arrest the car that goes across the inside of the track and can't stop, to try and stop it going back onto the circuit.
Have a look at the replay there. So it's Will Aspin behind him. There is Josh Stanton's red car. Aspin goes for a gap on the inside, tags the rear, turns him around, and Josh Stanton tries to get out, but he ain't going anywhere.
He didn't have a chance with that one. It spun around so quickly. So that will have to be pulled out, forwards down the hill.
Now it is James Kellett leading Charles Rainford. Matty Graham is third. Matty Graham's start will be investigated after the race, we understand. So safety car conditions, all of this counts within the 30 minutes or 32 laps, and the order remains the same. No overtaking permitted, all of this so that the race can continue, albeit under controlled conditions, whilst Josh Stanton's car is removed from the gravel on the inside of the hair. And there is Matty Graham, whose start will be investigated after the race. If we can have a look at that start, try to work out what, if anything, he did. You're looking at the car that's third on the grid.
I think he might have been. We only caught it just quickly. He might have been in front of his pit, his grid box.
So Matty Graham,
he didn't move before the lights went out, but I think he might have been too far forwards in the grid box. If your front of the car is over the line, it's counted as a out of position start.
So they're going to have another look at that post-race. In the meantime, this is what's occupying race control, making sure that the recovery is done okay, and of course at the moment they can't really drag the car onto the road because all the race cars are going through, so they have to wait for the crocodile to go by, and then Josh Stanton's car will be able to be moved. There's hardly any damage on that, I don't think, but because it's been in the gravel, that's right.
Yeah, tiny little touch, but with all the weight on the back, obviously it's a Porsche 911 with the engine at the back, a little bit of a tap, and round she goes.
So the fans who've come prepared for all weathers, some in their shorts, some in their raincoats, they've had the sunshine, they've had the rain, they've had the drizzle, and there is a very frustrated Josh Stanton. So the car out of the gravel and effectively out of the race.
Yes, it's a long week to be up here to end up in that situation, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed.
Worth noting, whilst the safety car's out, some other news from Porsche. The applications for the next Porsche Junior are now open. Adam Smalley, the second in his second year now, so there'll be a new Porsche Junior next year. So applications are open to follow in the footsteps of indeed the likes of Adam Smalley, but also the other stars who have moved on to Supercar and GT racing. Harry King specifically, our last junior who's done so successfully in Supercar, but before him the likes of Dan Harper, Charlie Eastwood.
Lights out on top of the safety car, so we are about to resume racing here at Knockhill. Out of the hairpin powers the Century of Motorsport run car of James Kellett that will lead them away then as he powers over the timing line, being chased by Charles Rainford, and those two again just gapping Matty Graham ever so slightly as they come over the line. In the classes, Pro-Am is being led by Ross Wiley and by Justin Sherwood, who's unbeaten this year. But James Kellett on a road that's still damp, still treacherous, he's trying to break clear as he gets the tyres back up to temperature.
Gus Burton had a very good restart. He was right up behind Matty Graham coming into shot now, look. He was really pushing hard. But Gus Burton is like a new driver, isn't he, with a new team? Unfortunately, Josh Stanton won't be going back out. They're just clearing some stones out that have got stuck in the wheels.
So here are the race leaders, but look at third. Gus Burton then all over Matty Graham like a rash. He goes to the outside line, down to the hairpin. Going to be brave on the outside, but often you can find a bit more grip on the outside line. Not this time, he goes to the undercut. He wants a slingshot up the inside. Really nice move that. And that's going to put him on the inside line, heading over the line, down towards Duffer's Dip. Third place here should go the way of Gus Burton as he turns right into the first corner. Job done.
Well, fantastic. He went really deep and wide into the hairpin, got his cut back perfectly. That was a great... He's like a different driver this weekend. Change of team, change of sponsor, and wow, we're seeing the best of Gus Burton now.
He's been racing in Supercar, which is the highest level of Porsche racing, so lessons learned there as well being put into good use, advancing him as a driver. But James Kellett leading the way from Charles Rainford, and that margin is only 0.3 of a second. Now the fascination will be to see whether Burton can catch, and if he can, how long will it take him to catch the top two? And then, of course, what can he do about them?
Yeah, and whether he'll have any tyres left, because you can burn these soft, wet tyres up quite quickly if you're too aggressive with them on a drying track.
Over the line comes the leading duo then. It is James Kellett ahead of Charles Rainford. Last time it was 3/10, now it's 4/10. Gus Burton, fastest lap of the race. First to third is 1.6 seconds. That's the starting point with 25 laps to go. Time is on his side.
He's got plenty of time, that's absolutely for sure.
He's got Matty Graham shadowing him in fourth place. Adam Smalley is fifth. Josh Malin sixth. Seventh in the second of the yellow and blue Ducham's cars is Harry Foster. Then you've got Hugo Ellis in eighth, and Ross Wiley is in ninth overall there, leading Pro-Am. The black and orange car behind him of Ryan Ratcliffe is another Pro-Am entry. That, therefore, is the battle for class honours. It's Scotland versus Wales here. Ross Wiley ahead of Ryan Ratcliffe, but the two of them almost tied together. The margin at the start of the lap was 0.4 of a second, and Ratcliffe has a big dive up the inside. That's for the class lead. From a long way back, he's done it. He's gone by.
Terrific. Great move by Ryan Ratcliffe. He came from a little way back. Ross Wiley saw the lunge and actually was very good, gave him room, but I thought Ross might get a better exit, but he didn't. Ryan Ratcliffe was through.
And behind them, it is, in the silver car, Oliver White, third in class, so he always goes well around here, whether it's in Porsches or Formula Ford 1600s. Max Bird, elbows out on the inside, goes ahead of Will Aspin. That's going to give Max Bird fourth in Pro-Am. But in this race, a good return to Porsche racing for Oliver White, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great to see Oliver White back out there with Redline Racing. He completed last year with the Duckham sponsored car, but found himself without a driver at the start of this year. And we know Ollie has so much talent in single-seaters, but he hadn't quite spent enough time in Porsche, so great to see him back in the championship.
Going nicely in class podium in Pro-Am will be a really good return for him. Good boost, as there Max Bird ahead of Will Aspin, comes up towards the line. Will Aspin, lap from Florence, goes to the inside, but he's not going to level with Max Bird coming over the line. 10 laps in the book, another fastest lap posted by Gus Burton. 1.6 first to third is now down to 1.4, so he's edging closer.
Yeah, 0.3 quicker on that lap, so he is edging it in, definitely.
third there, trying to get away from Will Aspin. More and more of the drivers, certainly at the pointy end of the grid, setting personal best lap times last time through, so tyres getting back up to operating temperature after that safety car period, and down to the hairpin they come. That's the man with that fastest lap of the race to his name, Gus Burton. In race one, he did the triple whammy, pole, win, fastest lap, so we know he's got the pace.
Yeah, although things are so different, these conditions, but they changed very quickly. Look, they're searching out the wet parts of the track now to keep those tyres cool. But they weren't expecting a wet race, so they've gone to assembly area in full dry conditions. Normally you change the car, soften it off a little bit, maybe stand the wheels up a little bit if you knew it was going to be a wet race. So they're racing on their dry settings, which again will change how the tyres work and the balance of the car.
So there is Burton out of the chicane, and he is closing all the time on those ahead. He's pulled back another couple of tenths on that last lap. Let's see what he can do on this one as they come now out of Clark's way up the curb, and sideways there was Charles Rainford. Those painted curbs offering very little in terms of traction in the wet. Down towards the hairpin. So Kellett under pressure. He's not escaping, is he? No, but he's starting. There was a hint of a defence into that corner, wasn't there? Just a little bit middle of the road. Well, as soon as he defends, his lap times will drop off, and that will allow the chasing pack. And in actual fact, Gus Burton is bringing Matty Graham, Adam Smalley, Josh Malin, and Harry Foster all with him on that charge. We could have a multi-car battle at the front. That's the AM leader, the AM dominator this year, Justin Sherwood, who has won so far 9 out of 9 in class, ahead of the Davids, Fairbrother and Sterling, although at the moment it's David Sterling who retired from race 1 ahead of David Fairbrother. But Justin Sherwood is a very experienced racer. His son, now a very quick single-seater racer in British Air 4, comes down through McIntyre's way out on his own. Yep, as it's been all year for Justin Sherwood. Oh, although he nearly threw it away there by getting very wide as he went down through Butchers, didn't he? But very close to the grass. But he's enjoying his racing, driving flat out. Look how the track is drying there, and it will dry very quickly now. So the tyres are going to be really turning to jelly later in this race, and that's why you see the savvy drivers looking for the wetter parts of the track to cool them down. Ryan Ratcliffe there on the inside of Hugo Ellis, and so Ryan Ratcliffe, the Pro-Am leader within the race, goes ahead of the Pro categorised Hugo Ellis, and that puts, of course, another car between him and in second in class Ross Wiley. More spots of rain falling on the camera though, coming out of McIntyre, so we're talking about it drying, but maybe that's spray generated from the cars, maybe the rain is falling again. Or maybe that was there anyway from when it rained before the race, I don't know. Wipers are going back on the front cars, you could well be right, David. Down to the hairpin they come, and it still is James Kellett ahead of Charles Rainford, who is there or thereabouts, but he's not yet really made a move. James Kellett again goes for the wet part of the road to cool the tyres coming over the line. Burton has now sort of plateaued. He got to 7/10 of a second away from Rainford, but he's not really got much closer from there. No, and the last lap times, there's no difference there. 53.4, 53.4, 53.5, 53.4, all very close. That's Josh Malin. He is in 6th place. The Ginetta racer goes up towards the chicane now. His next target is Adam Smalley, who is, again, just banking points, but Adam's dropped away slightly from that leading queue. That part of the circuit, certainly the line, looks much drier than other parts. That's definitely the driest part of the track, isn't it? That exit of the chicane on the run to Clark. Cars are definitely starting to slide around a bit. I think they're chewing up their tyres, so it could get tasty later in the race. That's the second, the battling Pro-Am between Jake Giddings in number 41 and ahead of him Fraser McFadden. Now Jake Giddings was in the gravel in race 1, so he started way back. They're currently fighting for 10th and 11th in class, but Jake Giddings has had 2 wins in the category this year, so in theory should be able to make progress. And that's David Fairbrother. Yeah. Grass, keep it going, David. Keep it going, don't stop on the wet grass. He looks to have enough grip to keep it going. He's just looking for a safe place to restart. I always worry a bit like in snow, if you stop on the wet grass, you can't get going again. Companies roll downhill from there, can't he? So right now, Charles Rainford under attack from Gus Burton, having said that he plateaued. Now look, the lead gap has shot up. Rainford's having to go defensive because Gus Burton is right there behind him, wide in. He wants tight out of the hairpin like we saw him do earlier on in the race against Matty Graham. Not quite able to do it this time, but this is playing into the hands of James Kellett. He is getting away up front.
Yeah, so it looks like Charles Rainford is the first one to start to struggle a bit with his tyres, because he's dropping away rather than James Kellett finding extra pace. It's Charles Rainford. Look, you can see he's really struggling. So it's going to be a long second half of the race for Charles Rainford.
It is indeed. As we have a look here, replay at Max Bird, making his way through on the inside of Ross Wiley. Now, Ross Wiley is tumbling down the order, isn't he? Because he was the class leader earlier on, and now he's dropped to third in the class, and there's seemingly nothing he can do to respond.
Well, again, his tyres have got, you can see, he's got very little grip, so they've either overpressured the tyres and they've gone away too quickly, or they perhaps didn't start with I don't know, a fresh set. Depends what they put on at the start of the race.
Race leader through, but it's not going to be long, I think, before Gus Burton makes a proper bid for second place against Charles Rainford. Ollie Jackson goes diving up on the inside line there and stays ahead of Angus Whiteside. Ollie Jackson in the pseudo works colours of the 1980s, and then behind him in the green and white colours is Angus Whiteside, former Ginetta racer. They've got Jason Lockwood, it's Henry Dawes behind him, and then that battle between McFadden and Giddings next up. Race leader on his own on this drier part of the Knockhill circuit, and Gus Burton working out where he can make a move against Charles Rainford for second place. Great noise these cars make. Down towards the hairpin they come. Burton not close enough, I don't think, to have a proper dive here. Gets to the corner, sets the car up. Sun coming out now just to confuse the drivers further. So at some points they think it might be raining again, and others the sun comes out. They're having to cope with it as best they can.
Well, what we've seen this weekend is that the track dries incredibly quickly once the sun is on it. I'm sure by the end of this race it's going to be really dry. They're going to be sliding around. If you think they're sliding around now, wait till those tyres are completely and utterly worn out. Charles Rainford is basically sliding around all the corners, isn't he? Look how the back oversteers everywhere.
Yeah, Porsche GB has its esports championship, might be having a drift championship at the end of this. So Gus Burton, with better traction now, is looking to make this move against Charles Rainford, because if he's able to get through in a hurry, then he might just have a chance of getting up with James Kellett before the end. But it is interesting, after the progress made early on, how long it's taken Gus to do anything about Rainford.
It's all about tyre management and tyre life, because they probably... Oh, what's happening here?
Ollie Jackson on the back of Oliver White.
And getting down the inside into McIntyre's and Angus Whiteside getting through as well, but they're still side by side, these two. They've gone past, but they're side by side battling for position.
So now up into 5th and 6th within Pro-Am, and Angus Whiteside on the lights. He was another driver that did the Super Cup race at the British Grand Prix last month. Lines up for a move on the inside. Ollie Jackson, the touring car race winner of seasons past, has to give him racing room. Tries to fight back coming down the hill, but he can't make a move there.
Well played, Angus. He obviously learned a bit in the Super Cup race where they all flash their lights all the time. But it actually worked then. It put Ollie Jackson off enough that he was able to slide up the inside into turn 1. Good move, Angus.
So that gives him another place, puts him up into 13th spot overall. So 14 laps remain, and a lap at the moment is about, for the leaders, 53 seconds. So
the gap in the front, just a second. We'll watch that, monitor that, but it hasn't gone out anymore.
So more and more of the drivers looking to go for the wetter part of the road to cool the tyres. Ross Wiley goes through, but he is being caught by Will Aspin. The last lap of Will Aspin, the red, white and blue sideways car, 5th in shot. It was quicker than that of Ross Wiley. So out of Duffer's Stick they come. Now the track limit dramas start to come, and one driver being all about track limit offence is Fraser McFadden. Lap times are disallowed even in Porsche racing because there are points on offer for fastest laps, and they go into an end of season award as well. So to make sure people don't benefit in that respect from exceeding track limits, the lap times are disallowed, so they can't count it toward the fastest lap rewards. Ryan Ratcliffe hanging on to the lead in Pro-Am, doing a good job. Hugo Ellis behind him, but Max Bird has come up into 2nd in class then, and if he can get ahead of Hugo Ellis, might be able to go after Ratcliffe for the lead of Pro-Am itself.
Yeah, it's actually suiting Ryan Ratcliffe to have Hugo Ellis behind, because he's not in the same class. But if Hugo Ellis wasn't there, actually, they're all in that class would be very close together, wouldn't they?
So now for the race leaders, back markers may well start to play a part, as James Kellett Charles Rainford very, very sideways and gets as far as the gravel that time. And then Gus Burton come out of Clark's, but the slower cars not that far up the road now. Gus Burton closing as he comes down to the hairpin. Again, very close under braking. Can he tighten the line enough to slingshot out of the hairpin? The answer is no. Rainford able to get away coming up the hill. As to the wet part of the road goes Kellett. The other two don't though.
No, it's, I mean, Charles Rainford, his car resembles a tea tray on caster wheels, doesn't it? It's absolutely all over the place.
There is a rallying heritage for Porsche, rallycross as well in the 1980s, but Charles Rainford's car getting a little more sideways as the tyres lose their bite. James Kellett continuing to hold sway. He's only 0.8 of a second up the road, and the fastest lap of the race done by Ollie Jackson last time. And as soon as he does that, he's given a driving standards flag for track limits. So there you've got James Kellett, still clear, as again Burton tries to make that move against Rainford, coming down towards the hairpin to the outside line, but he's getting more committed lap after lap.
Yeah, sooner or later he hopes that Charles Rainford will have a big slide and he can get off the corner, but Charles is just managing it enough not to slide too much. In the JTR pit, in the garages, they're watching the action on the monitors. But you're right, Gus Burton's looking increasingly aggressive, isn't he? But look how fast that track is drying. I mean, they'd be on slicks now if they could, but obviously it would take too long to change, wouldn't be worth it. So we've got to see this out now, but it's definitely the wrong tyres for these conditions.
That's Burton going very, very wide, almost dropping into the gravel on the outside. Charles Rainford, to be fair to him, is doing a very, very good job of defending. He's not losing that much time against the race leader, James Kellett, and he is hanging on to that second place.
Yeah, it's balanced out a bit now, isn't it? Everybody else has worn their tyres a bit, so they're in a similar position. Matty Graham's actually dropped it back a bit off the back of them. So it is very similar. He gets a decent exit.
Burton thinks about the inside line. Rainford moves across and defends. That part of the racetrack is wet, as it was right up against the pit wall. Now Gus Burton has a big dive up the inside. He tries to slow it down in time. Goes wide, goes over the curb, gets back on. Rainford is sideways and off the road, and around he will go. Who does he take with him? Nobody. Graham hits Burton. Matty Graham goes for the inside line. Adam Smalley now tries to get in on the act, and Gus Burton's got damage and he's off the road.
Oh, that all went wrong. I thought when I saw Gus Burton go for that move, he's going to struggle to stop the car. Indeed, he did run wide, and that then was the catalyst for the incident that followed. Matty Graham, though, is the one that is through into second place.
And Adam Smalley managed to avoid any dramas to increase his points all out of the race. So James Kellett leads the way. Second is Graham. In third, it is Smalley. Fourth now will be Josh Malin. And there limping back is Gus Burton, so he's picked up damage, and that rather looks like it's his race round. And Charles Rainford was also off the road through the gravel after the dramas, and hoping that he can limp back to the pits as well.
Well, he really went for it, but he actually was too focused on getting down the inside. The wheel's completely broken, look, on the right-hand side. Well, he can't steer, can he, because of the broken front suspension, but he's getting it back to the pits. Here we go. Watch his entry speed. Watch how fast he comes into the break. It's too quick. He's way past Charles Rainford. Was never going to make the corner cleanly, so runs out wide, comes back on, which forces Rainford off. Rainford then they have to stop to let him come across the front of them, which allows Matty Graham through on the inside.
So James Kellett's advantage now, 3 seconds, as the battles are not done behind him. So a mixed day for Gus Burton and JTR. Delight, great result, race 1, all unravels in race 2. And as the sun shines over Duffer's Dip, damp offline, bone dry on it. And as Tim has been saying about tyre management, he's also now giving us some rather intriguing fastest laps. We've had Ollie Jackson do the fastest lap. Now it is Angus Whiteside from Pro-Am.
Yes, it's a 0 to 0 weekend, unfortunately for Gus, but it's good to see him back in a competitive car running at the front, and it bodes well for the rest of this season. But for this man, James Kellett, he has led this race all the way through, and he's looking for his third victory of the year.
So he powers his way uphill for Nathan Freed's Century Motorsport team. Last time the gap was over 3 seconds. Josh Malin goes through further back. So Kellett to Graham's down 2.6 seconds. Adam Smalley third. Fourth, Josh Malin. So that last lap for James Kellett, half a second slower than that silver car of Matty Graham.
Well, it could be, obviously, Matty Graham's under pressure from behind, directly from Smalley and Malin, so he's having to push hard. Maybe Kellett is just easing off a little bit, trying to help save his tyres. He's not under pressure.
But Smalley has just done the absolute best of the race in the first sector, so Adam Smalley is having a push, as that's the disappointed Gus Burton out of the race. So the car's flicked through the chicane. You can see how much drier the road is just off the different colours of the road now, going up towards Clark's. That is Ross Wiley under attack from Ollie Jackson. Ross Wiley's car that's been fading as the race has gone on. James Kellett has just done 27 laps. He's got 5 to go, and he's only 2.3 seconds ahead now. Another 3 tenths lost to Matty Graham, who has just done the fastest lap of the race. So great battle going on here, but equally the lead gap coming down between the top two, Kellett and Graham.
Well, you wouldn't believe how dry the track is now relative to how it was just 10 minutes ago. It dries so fast, and that was what caught out some of the touring car drivers earlier today, thinking the track would dry quicker than it did. But in sunshine, the track dries incredibly quickly.
So here is the Graham, Smalley, Malin fight, second, third and fourth, and they're all doing absolute best in sectors now. So as the road is drying, even though you might think the tyres are going to be going off and past their best and they'll be struggling, they're still able to find the grip and be able to push hard. Out of the hairpin they turn. In replay you see Max Bird going off the road and just missing the car of Angus Whiteside, as Ollie Jackson in the background got past Ross Wiley that he'd been threatening to do. So the lead gap is 2.4 seconds. Last time Kellett did a personal best and responded, and Josh Malin has done the absolute fastest lap. We've lost Hugo Ellis by the look of it. We've lost David Fairbrother as well, facing the wrong way down at the hairpin. Fairbrother is with damage, and Hugo Ellis on that wet grass, I don't think he's going much further either. How did it all happen, Tim?
They were closing up to lap David Fairbrother. Ellis goes down the inside. There's a bit of contact there. They can't avoid each other. That was just clumsy, wasn't it?
Yeah, David Fairbrother sort of slides across Hugo Ellis, I think, by the throttle.
Well, I think Ellis was already touching the side of David Fairbrother, so he just couldn't steer out of it.
So, drama at the hairpin. Leaders go through. Kellett to Graham is 2.3 seconds. I think James Kellett's still got this one under control because he's able to maintain this gap with 3 laps to go. This is the fight for second and third. Matty Graham versus Adam Smalley, the championship leader. That's the race leader, James Kellett, going nicely, heading uphill once more.
Josh Malin in 4th place actually has the fastest lap of the race. But that could still change. That was only set last lap, so it can still change as the track has dried, despite, as you say, the warm tyres.
James Kellett, the race leader, very successful Ginetta champion, both in the GT5s and then the G56 models. So as he leads the way, there is Fraser McFadden to the inside of Jake Giddings. They've been squabbling for most of the race, as it's Giddings there forced out wide, and behind them is the lapped car of David Sterling, of the Scottish contingent, him and Ross Wiley with Scottish connections for Carrera Cup GB fans to be watching. Out of the chicane he comes. And replay here, Jake Giddings was ahead when they came out of the hairpin, and squeezing, barging almost, elbowing his way between them was Fraser McFadden. That was some move.
Fair play to him. He squeezed that through the gap, didn't he? That was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, no surprise that David Sterling comes from Stirling,
yes,
Scotland. So no doubting his heritage.
David Fairbrother doesn't come from Fairbrother, by the way. So down towards the hairpin, they are going to start the last lap this time around. James Kellett, the race leader. He only has to win by 1,000th of a second as long as he wins, so he's looking after everything here, maintaining a gap over the opposition. Up the hill he goes. Matty Graham is close, but he won't get close enough with a lap to run. And then in 3rd spot, Adam Smalley, thinking point, banking points, helping that championship lead.
As always, that's what Adam Smalley does. He's well on his way to winning this championship, and he's driven, you know, that is the goal of the junior, to try and win the championship in their 2nd year, as predecessors have done, and Adam Smalley's well on his way to doing that. But let's not take anything away from James Kellett, from pole to a race victory in tricky conditions, drying conditions on wet tyres. He's driven fantastic.
This is Kellett up towards the hairpin, then towards the checkered flag. So into the braking zone he comes, and James Kellett, who has driven a tremendous race, coping with that safety car restart, coping with the changing conditions. He's on target then for a 3rd win of the championship. James Kellett wins at Knockhill. Great drive by James Kellett. He comes through 2 seconds ahead of Matty Graham, Adam Smalley third, and Josh Malin, another good result, in fourth. This is the man that's going to win Pro-Am, Ryan Ratcliffe. It's going to be close, look, because right there on his tail is Angus Whiteside, who's driven very, very well, working his way up through the pack. So as they head towards the line, it is going to be a class win for Ryan Ratcliffe, but Angus Whiteside, who chases him across the line to be 8th, started 20th on the grid. A mighty drive, that by Angus Whiteside. I think the best we've seen of him in his Carrera Cup career. It's going to be a win in Am for Justin Sherwood. It always is. He's dominated the season, and Fraser McFadden's going to come out on top of this race-long battle with Jake Giddings.
It's been great battles all the way down, but Justin Sherwood, he hasn't had to battle. He's been out in front in the Am class, as he has been all year, and takes another victory in the class. And finishes 16th overall.
Well, there is James Kellett, who has mastered the conditions, the third victory of the season. And fans applauding that, and some of them also now going into dry settings. They can take off the raincoats because the sun is out. It's become rather warm again on the hill, and this throws yet another variable at the touring car teams that will be taken to the circuit shortly, because the road is getting drier all the time. Round 10 of Porsche Carrera Cup GB, won by James Kellett. 2 seconds clear of Matty Graham, with Adam Smalley third and Josh Malin fourth. Fifth, Harry Foster, and after a trip through the gravel, Charles Rainford recovering to be 6th. A win in Pro-Am for Ryan Ratcliffe, ahead of Angus Whiteside and Max Bird. Ollie Jackson, 10th overall. 11th, Ross Wiley from Jason Lockwood and then Henry Dawes. Fraser McFadden 14th, Jake Giddings 15th, then Justin Sherwood from Will Aspin, David Sterling. We lost Oliver White, he was a retirement 4 laps from the end. We lost Hugo Ellis as well, and David Fairbrother, Gus Burton and Josh Stanton all sadly were retirements. As far as the championships are concerned, in Pro, 34 points between Adam Smalley and James Kellett, Charles Rainford in third. Fourth now is Matty Graham, ahead of Josh Malin, the absent Robert DeHaan, 6th from Gus Burton, who won race 1 today, Mika Stanley, 8th from Hugo Ellis, and then Harry Foster. In Pro-Am, Max Bird is 20 points to the good of Ross Wiley, Ryan Ratcliffe third, and Justin Sherwood's advantage in Am is now up to 59 points over David Fairbrother. So, James Kellett, race winner, and we'll get his reaction after the break.
Kellett led the field on a drying track. Behind it came an increasingly fraught battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and that ended when Gus Burton lost it, and all the resulting avoidance let Kellett get away. And he would lead home Matty Graham and Adam Smalley, who sees his championship lead trimmed just slightly, but an excellent win for James Kellett, who'll be talking with Louise.
Yeah, it was a great victory for James. I mean, lights to flag, which kind of sounds easy, but it was very difficult conditions, wasn't it, from the start of that race to the finish?
It was absolutely awful. It's probably the toughest race I've ever done. It felt like it lasted forever. The first race went like that, and but when you're leading, obviously it lasts a little bit longer, doesn't it? But it was tough. Hats off to the team, Century Motorsport and Roslyn Gold Racing. We've absolutely dialed this car in through the weekend. I've just been getting quicker and quicker every time I've gone out, and yeah, a buzz to finish the weekend like this.
What made it so bad, so awful?
Well, the circuit was drying really, really quickly. Initially, at the start, it was perfectly fine. I was keeping a good gap from Charles behind me. Obviously, I think Charles came together with somebody else out on the circuit, so it allowed me to get a bit of a gap. So I thought, right, this is my time just to push on a little bit now, see if I can get that gap a little bit longer. And I think it actually killed my tyres pushing. And then the circuit was basically bone dry at the end. And obviously, we're on wet tyres, so it was literally like skating around. It was lit like a soap in a bathtub. That's what it was like.
Where were you at with your settings? Because obviously that rain came down literally just before the start. So had you gone down there with the dry? So you got a dry setup on wet tyres, or did you have something towards a wet setup?
No, we were on wet, which is why I was quick at the start of the race. But obviously it did harm us towards the end of the race. But I kept the tyres cool as best as I could, and brought the car home P1.
Well done, congratulations, and Matty, great result for you. I mean, you sort of, well, you made a big step forward, obviously, with cars ahead of you going off, but it comes how it comes, doesn't it? It's about being on the track.
Yeah, exactly, especially in conditions like that. You just know there's always going to be a little bit of drama, especially when, you know, Burton was looking pretty quick, so he was going for the move on Rainford, and there's only one dry line, so you know there's just going to be something happen in front of you, and Thankfully, we just got away. We had a bit of contact with Burton on the way past, which has damaged the car a little bit, but very lucky to get away with it, and yeah, good result in the end.
Well, it didn't seem to slow you down because you were trading fastest laps up to in the last few laps there, weren't you? You were on a mission.
Yeah, I was just pushing to try to get a bit of pressure on James, and then obviously Adam was up behind me as well, so it was just bringing it home at that point as well. You know, after last year's dramas, I just wanted to have 2 good races this weekend, and yeah, double podium, so can't complain too much.
That sounds like 2 good races to me. Well done. And Adam, you know, we're getting towards the sharp end of the season. That's more really handy points in the bag for you, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. 2 fantastic races. You know, when you can't get the wins, we're just taking the points this year. And a massive thank you to everyone at Duckham's USA Racing with Team Parker. Bit of a tongue twister. But no, we're taking it race by race. So far, so good. Obviously, well done for these 2 boys. They did a fantastic job then. But no, obviously a little bit of luck on my side as well. But sometimes you need that.
How do you balance it out when, you know, between that push for the points that's within every driver versus, okay, I need to bank what I can here?
It's quite difficult. You know, I go with the approach to try and win every single race I can, and I don't think that's going to change. You know, I am trying to win every single race, and I think you can see that on track. But it's been a fantastic year so far, and that's podium number 9. So yeah, we just hopefully can keep the streak going and take it race by race.
Well done, you. We'll see you at the next one. Right, well, sun's out now. A few clouds ahead. What are we going to have for the next touring car race? That's coming up after this quick break.